Gosh, guys, this video reveals new details, a brand new video that has just been released today from the Italian television station, and it shows a video from the arrival of the storm to that mysterious second alarm flare, and it shows the mystery of the disappearance of the sinking of the Bayesian. So it gives you shivers down your spine, and in this video we will go through this new emerged and just posted video step by step. It is a shocking video, and it's incredibly sad because you see in this video what is happening to the boat, and then there's total darkness. And I have an opinion about what happened. I'll also tell you this in this video, but to see this is the moment captured on film. But there's also an autopsy report that has been released on some of the bodies, and guys, the daughter of the owner of the Bayesian leaves a mystery because they found a head injury. Some others, like the cook, they said it was drowning for sure, but with the daughter, it's something else. So we will uncover this in this video, so stay tuned. I was just looking, if you know my channel, I report a lot about Italy, about the volcanoes there, the super volcano, Campi Flegrei, Vesuvius, but a lot about the Aeolian Islands as well. And Aeolian Islands, this is where this incident took place. So as I was just combing through the Italian newspapers, I found news that are stunning to me. So I want to share this with you. Not only do we have a new video and other videos resurfaced of the sinking of the Bayesian, but also equipment was recovered from the wreckage. Italian divers are down there, and then there's interesting statements from the captain that basically rule out previous theories about why the ship did sink so fast. The Bayesian was sinking extraordinarily fast. We know a tornado was happening at that time where it was on anchor, but there was another ship nearby that watched the sinking of the Bayesian, and the other ship obviously didn't have any problems. So what really happened? The mystery goes on. We're trying to find some answers here, so it's going to be very interesting. Stay with me, guys. So the latest news that I have from Italy as of today is they have recovered video surveillance equipment, and they have images that provide new answers on the shipwreck. And you know, they were even talking about lifting the Bayesian. The Bayesian is about 50 meters underwater. It's at 150 feet, something like that. Little more than 150 feet. So it is difficult for divers to go down there, and they can't stay long. So, but they were lucky. The Navy divers did recover this crucial material so that they could find answers. And they are continuing to explore this shipwreck of the vessel that sank early August. So they have parts of the deck and the computer equipment recovered. Very, very useful elements for reconstructing the last hours of this massive super yacht, the Bayesian. So video surveillance system of the Bayesian that has been recovered and is hopefully usable and not destroyed by water. It should be basically, I hope that it was like a flight recorder, that it was secured. This super yacht, this vessel, had 22 people on board at the time when the tornado hit it at night, and then it was sinking on August 19th in Porticello, that is near Palermo. There was, they call it a violent whirlwind tornado style event, and that's not unusual for this area. But unfortunately, 7 people were lost in this shipwreck. And now this groundbreaking recovery of this equipment could finally provide the long-awaited answers to the tragedy that occurred off the coast of Sicily on the vessel flying the flag of the United Kingdom, and the vessel originally set sail from the port of Rotterdam in the Netherlands. And then it had reached the Mediterranean after crossing the Strait of Gibraltar, a very narrow area. And yeah, it was supposed to reach the Aeolian Islands and just refuel there. But between August 4th and 5th, the Bayesian's journey ended abruptly, which nobody would have expected that a ship that size, I mean, I think 56 million US dollars, would sink like that, especially since the manufacturer says it's unsinkable, and the manufacturer kind of questions what the crew did. And they have been saying from day one, basically, that it must have been a user error. And we get to this because now what the captain is saying is clashing with what the manufacturer's theory is. And you know, manufacturer said they must have left a hatch open. And I'll explain to you where this hatch is located in a second and what the captain says about this. So now we have these specialized divers. They're combing through the wreck on behalf of the prosecutor's office. It's called Termini Immerse, the prosecutor. They're leading the investigation, and that's why this computer equipment, the hard disks, and various other devices, as they say, including video surveillance systems. So the devices, as this is brand new of today, right? The devices will be sent to specialized laboratories outside of Sicily to check on their status and possibly, hopefully, recover the data. So what they have also done in order to be able to stay down there at the wreckage longer, they have used a hyperbaric chamber that has allowed the divers to perform repeated dives of up to 40 minutes. And because that's why probably they had a little bit more time to look around. The captain, his name is James Cutfield, he's from New Zealand. And also the engineer officer Tim Parker Eaton and the seaman Matthew Griffith. He was on watch on the bridge the night of the sinking. They are also being investigated for the sinking. So what has the CEO of the manufacturing company said? His name is Giovanni Constantino. He's the CEO of the Italian Sea Group. That's the company that owns the assets of Perini Navi of Viareggio, the group that built the Bayesian Superyacht. And you know, we have to say, in case you don't know it, the owner of the yacht and his daughter were also lost in this incident. They could not be saved. So the CEO has provided his reconstruction of the night this tragic accident or whatever it was happened. And according to him, he says there would have been a series of human errors. He said the crew should have prepared the ship by closing and armoring it, the hull and the superstructure. Yes, that's what you do if there is a storm warning. And there was a weather warning and a storm warning. And you know, if you've seen my other videos, the guy that was on the ship, I believe it was a German guy, he prepared himself. He had his engine on to turn the ship and to weather these events. And he turned out to be just fine. And his boat was way smaller, right? CEO further says, the ship is unsinkable. If no water had entered, the vessel would not have had any problems. And he mentions that the fishermen around the area, they knew also about the storm incoming and they did not go out on the water. So I guess what he's trying to say, everyone knew this was coming. So the crew of the Bayesian should have known this was coming and should have prepared accordingly. And yes, it is stunning. Let's go to the hatch theory. If you leave that hatch open and waves come in, then a lot of water can enter very, very quickly. And that could lead to a very fast sinking, right? But if you have that many crew members and experts, first you should have checklists. If weather comes in, what to do. And I'm very, very sure that there are electronic systems that warn you that a hatch is still open. So, you know, if there had just been one captain or something that was responsible for all of this, okay, human error. But it's not that all of a sudden at night they were surprised by this bad weather. So they should have already known when they went to sleep, in my opinion, and should have taken the necessary steps. So I think at the time when they should have prepared the vessel, everyone was still awake. So the whole crew, so multiple people. So was this really the reason? The captain says no. But of course, as a CEO of your company, that has done a lot of damage to them. Because imagine if you're now thinking about buying a super yacht, would you choose that brand right now? I mean, there's always a doubt, right? Even let's say they find the reason and it's not a manufacturing problem, you'd maybe still go to Wally or to other companies, right? I would do that. I mean, unfortunately, I can't afford a super yacht. But hey guys, maybe you can make that possible. Leave this video a like and share it with your friends. Maybe this YouTube channel will take off. No, I'm just kidding. So the manufacturer thinks that the sinking was caused by a crew that was distracted and not ready. I mean, these are quite harsh accusations. So what the CEO says is, this series of events was leading to the fatal incident. So he says the water in the Bayesian began to enter from the stern. So it seems that's where an open hatch is. I think they had a hatch, something like where they could really get out and be on water level to enter boats or go to swim or jet skis or whatever. So water entered the stern, flooding not only one watertight compartment, but also the second watertight compartment that was adjacent to the first. That is the engine room. And then the CEO explained, and then when the wind picked up, the ship began to drift. And then he says for another 14 minutes, the ship was taking on water. So technically it is said that it has become garroted. It's meaning its stability has been compromised. Yes, if there's that much water in the boat, it's basically too late, right? We know what happened to the Titanic. So the CEO says the ship then reached the point where it went down, and then there was also a blackout in the system because the water has reached the generators of the ship. I mean, yes, if it goes into the engine room, that's not good. Never, right? So in those 16 minutes where all this was happening, the crew would not have been able to save everyone, probably because, and that's what the CEO is saying, they did not coordinate, they did not prepare adequately, they were distracted and not ready to intervene. Yeah, probably they were in panic. So the CEO says there were many reasons why they did not operate in the right way, in the right sequence, in the right timelines. They did not consider the people who were down in the lower deck bedrooms, I guess. They did not follow the right procedures, and 7 people remained blocked. That's the 7 people that were lost. So the first 14 could have gone up if only the alarm had been raised. Interesting. So what I want to know, was this crew trained by anyone of the company, by anyone who manufactured the Bayesian, who told them how to operate a big boat like this? Because again, guys, let's say you have the money, you buy a super yacht like this. This is not a commercial boat. I mean, if I buy a Boeing, I wouldn't buy a Boeing right now. Let's say I buy an Airbus. That's a little bit safer right now. I think if I buy an Airbus, this is being used by a lot of commercial airline companies. So there's a lot of pilots that have vast experience flying this thing. So let's say I buy my Airbus and I'm looking for my private pilot, and I have that much money. I'll just pay one from, I don't know, Lufthansa, American Airlines, whatever, to come to me and fly that plane. And I can be sure that he's had proper training and proper experience on the job with that plane. But with these super yachts, most of them are individually, and there's only very, very few and hardly ever probably the same one. And, you know, since they're not commercially operated, where do you find a captain that has experience, right, with this kind of boat? I mean, I've been sailing all my life, and I've said that to you, of course, not with boats like this, like 37 feet is my experience. But, you know, boats handle kind of the same, but with such a big ship, there's a lot of technological and electronical stuff involved. And, you know, did that crew have training? Did that crew have emergency training? Or were they just thinking, well, this thing is unsinkable, and were they not careful enough? That's the question. So did they kind of fall into the same trap as the crew of the Titanic? So did they rehearse emergency moments, where to go, what to close, what to check, you know? Or were these crew just hired individuals from somewhere, just, you know, maybe some students that were crew parts, and they panicked when this happened, right? It's not like, again, my Airbus, I get a captain from a commercial company, and maybe I also get crew members that worked on commercial airliners and are highly, highly trained what to instruct in emergency situations. So was that the fatal flaw? I'm always saying, if I owned a boat like this, I would not rely on anyone. I would make sure that where I buy it from, that they make me an expert in my own boat. And I would always check the weather and check my own security. I mean, even if it's as small as going RVing with a motorhome, you have to have a checklist, right? Are the slides in, brake check, tire pressure, stuff like this. So I would always be involved like this, but I don't think these people were that much on that night. They were having a party, maybe they were drinking, they went to bed, they went to sleep, right? Did they even know that a storm was incoming? Were they warned by the crew? The captain, he's from New Zealand, so kind of, if you heard New Zealand, it sounds like he should be experienced in this. So let's hear what he has to say. And this is different from what the manufacturer CEO just said. So this is the captain, James Cutfield, and he heavily denies the allegations of the manufacturer's CEO that the hatch was open and that this was the start on how these tragic 16 minutes unfolded. And he said it very, very straight. He said the hatch was not open. So if that is true, why did the ship then sink so rapidly? There are theories that maybe the keel was up and then it capsized, because that was a retractable keel, and sometimes they pull it up because it makes less noise, and for whatever reason they might have forgotten to put the keel down. Because if the keel's not down, with that high mast that the Bayesian had, it would have been easy for the wind to catch on the mast and flip it over if there's not the weight of the keel to prevent this from happening. And this was an extraordinary high mast, 75 meters, I believe, right? So a keel is crucial for that. And I mean, for the captain, this is crucial for himself, because he's basically the main suspect in this tragedy of the Bayesian, right? This 51-year-old New Zealander has charges against him, and they are quite serious. They are shipwreck and multiple manslaughter charges. So it is in his best interest, if the hatch was really not open, that they find the main reason. But they're also looking into the sailor who was on watch on the bridge the night of the tragedy, because it seems that it was his job to raise the alarm. And did he do that, or did he do that in time? Because, you know, all the passengers might have been saved. So what the prosecutor's office is currently focused on is, of course, discovering the causes of the sinking of that sailing ship that really should never have sunk, even in adverse weather conditions, right? The CEO of the building company says it's one of the safest ships in the world. So let's say one of these multiple hatches that the ship had, and according to the theory of the CEO, is that one side hatch has been open, and that's why it was sinking stern first. But it also remains quite a mystery whether 32 minutes passed between the time of the sinking, that was set at 4:06 a.m., and the launch of a signal rocket. Okay guys, as announced, now we're talking about these emergency flares. And this new video that I mentioned, it shows that there was a second flare 37 minutes later, a second warning rocket. What has happened? So this new video, it's brand new. It's the first time that this has been broadcasted yesterday, September 13th. And it casts new shadows on the shipwreck of the Bayesian. So what can you see in this video? What is the mystery? So let's go through this video step by step. So in this video, you can see the arrival of the storm. It's filmed at 3:49 a.m. with lightning and with thunder that is impossible not to notice. It's really, really intense. So then again, the main mast of the Bayesian ship is immortalized. It's remaining motionless a few hundred meters from the port, only a few hundred meters from the port away. That's where the Bayesian was anchoring. So, and at 4:08 a.m., the video shows that the Bayesian yacht is disappearing. But an interesting detail that has never emerged before, if you look at 4:43, you can see this second warning flare that illuminates the Sea of Porticello. So 37 minutes after the sinking of the yacht, there's another warning flare. So what happened in these long 37 minutes is still shrouded in mystery. But what we know for sure is that that first signal was launched at 4:34 a.m. So this was the rocket that pushed the captain of another nearby boat to rush to launch the rescue because he saw that flare. So it's thanks to this that the 15 survivors were recovered, including the 3 people that are now investigated: the captain, James Cutfield, the engineer officer, Tim Parker Eaton, and Matthew Griffith. And of course, the sailor who was on duty on the bridge the night, and Matthew Griffith, he's the sailor who was on duty on the bridge the night of the shipwreck, and he should have raised an alarm, right? So I'll show you this video here. It's been posted on X by that television station, that Italian television station, TG1, Rai. It's crazy. Meanwhile, we also have some autopsy reports of the victims' bodies that were concluded in the recent days. So for the ship's cook, for example, Ricardo Thomas drowning is certain, given that he's the only one to have been found at sea and a few hours after the tragedy. So similar response for the lawyer that was on board, Chris Morvillo, and his wife Neda. But some doubts remain for the owners of the Bayesian, the Lynches, in particular for the 18-year-old daughter Hannah of the owner of the boat. And she reportedly also suffered a head injury, as well as for the president of the Morgan Stanley Bank, Jonathan Bloomer, and his wife, for whom the results of further tests, including toxicological ones, are also awaited. So it remains stunning. I don't know how to say stunning. Interesting, thrilling, mysterious. So that sailor that was on watch, he looks quite young if you see the picture of him here. Matthew Griffith, he was on watch on the bridge the night the Bayesian sank. He told the investigators, "I woke up the captain when the wind was 20 knots. And then the captain gave the order to wake up everyone else. And then the captain saved a mother and a little girl that were part of the guests there." So what went wrong? It's really fascinating. So what this sailor says is, he says, the ship tilted and we were thrown into the water. Then we managed to get back on board and tried to save those we could. So it tilted. That's also the theory that maybe something was wrong with the keel, because why would this ship, this large ship, tilt so much that they were flying off board right away? And here it comes. It gets even. He says the boat was tilting and we were walking on the walls. So then it must have been tilting really, really a lot. So again, my opinion, that speaks for the keel being up. He says we saved who we could, even the captain. So what he also says, and guys, I don't know. So the captain gave the order to wake everyone up. And so the sailor says then, I then put away the cushions and plants, closed the windows of the bow lounge and some hatches. So they haven't closed that before the night began, although there was a storm warning. Interesting. But what he did not speak about it seems these big hatches that were down around the boat. He did not say anything about those hatches because he says those were not his responsibility. But in an emergency, maybe you would check that first before you put away plans, right? Not that I'm accusing him of anything, but you know, this attitude, not my responsibility, right? You know, if I'm in an airplane and I see that they have a certain, that they're diving or something is happening, I would check, are all the doors closed? What's happening? Although it's not maybe my responsibility, I would have a look, right? Because it's your life in danger as well. So surprisingly, this is still a mystery, but let's have a look at the new videos that have surfaced. Because another camera has captured the yacht when it was sinking, and what he said is the boat was shaking. Shaking is interesting because let's think about, if the ship is taking on water, it's getting more heavy and it moves less. So shaking, that is very, very strange in my opinion. And in my opinion, it doesn't contribute to the theory that the hatch was open, because then if the ship fills water, it's getting heavy, it's starting to sink, it's even harder to move the ship around. So how can it be shaking, right? So another surveillance camera, and it looks similar to the other video that we have already seen. I'll show you the other video that showed how you still see the lights on the mast and on the ship, and there's heavy rain. It's black and white, the cameras, but then you see the ship disappears. And now there's another surveillance camera that has captured the sinking of the Bayesian, and that's a surveillance system of a shipyard in the area. And compared to the previous video that we've already seen, this is even closer to the point where the yacht was anchored before sinking in the storm. So it's a little bit closer. So the owner of that shipyard has revealed that video and said that the owner was on site to secure some objects because the wind was coming in, and that the owner of that shipyard witnessed the shipwreck in person. So she saw the boat going under. The Coast Guard then came to take the camera. So the owner really of that shipyard says, I saw it with my own eyes what happened. The boat was moving and swinging as if it was shaking. Perhaps it was being pulled by the anchor that was plowing into the bottom. I also saw some sails flapping, and then the mast went out and went down the other side. That is interesting, because I tell you one thing. I have been inside a sailboat during a storm, not a tornado, but during heavy storms. And if you anchor, your boat starts turning around, swinging around one center point, right? So it's depending on the wind. And yes, if there's sometimes then strong winds coming in, sometimes then big waves disappear and you have a lot of small waves on a quite flat water around your boat, for example, right? Just for a short period of time. And that's when it seems like your boat is trembling or swinging, and then it starts moving around the anchor again. And then of course you feel it when the wind hits your mast or anything else that you have outside. If she heard sails flapping, that is concerning. Did something turn loose? Hard to imagine with a boat like this. Usually the sails are rolled in mechanically into like a steel hull or something like this. So that would be very surprising to me. But what she says happened does not sound like she saw the ship taking on water. To me, this sounds like the keel was up. Very much the keel was up, something like this, when it then was flipping over, or it was shaking, right? It has even less stability without the keel. So that's why it might have been shaking, because even if there's no sail on that high mast, there's still enough area that pushes it. So sometimes in a storm, if there's no sail sets, your boat, despite a keel, is still taking on sideways, which is fine, right? If everything's enclosed. But if the keel is up, it's sideways, there's a storm coming in, like a bow coming in, hitting the mast, it can flip it over. And if then maybe there was something open, it fills water and it sinks, right? And if the keel is up, there's no chance the boat can flip back up. If the keel is down, it maybe can capsize through and then be upright again. That's usually how they are constructed. But if the keel was up with that heavy mast, the ship would have been mast down. And if then there was some opening probably to the inside because people were trying maybe to get out, crew panicked, it fills with water and then it sinks like a rock. That's my theory, guys. I'll keep you updated about this, because to me, this is a captivating tragedy or story. So let me know in the comments, guys, if you like that story, if you want to hear more of it. Thanks for watching. Check out my playlist. There's several videos about the Bayesian Also about the Titan submersible if you like stuff that's happening in the water, guys. But let's not forget all the volcanoes that we have on our watch list. So subscribe for the latest news, guys, and check out the links in the descriptions if you want to become a member of this channel for exclusive videos. There's also a playlist that you can find there, or I see you on my Buy Me a Coffee site. Thanks for the coffees you keep buying me, guys. They keep me up and running. Thank you. See you soon. Bye-bye.